On call again on News Center 13, this time with answers for senior citizens. Tuesday through Thursday, a panel of experts will answer your questions on Medicare, financial planning, and geriatrics nutrition. Watch live at 5 each day. Meet the experts, then call them with your questions. 239-1013 or outside of Indianapolis, toll-free 1-800-553-5395. The panel will be on call until 8 p.m. each night. Ask the experts on News Center 13 this week live at 5.
A cool down is coming to Tales at Noon.
Live from Union Station in the heart of central Indiana, this is AM Indiana Track 13 with your host, Dick Wolfsie.
I'm laughing already. This is the craziest thing we ever did. Let me tell you how we're going to do this show today. I'm not in my normal seat. I don't know if you can figure that out from watching TV now. I'm actually in the seat on the other side of the set because today our topic is what is it like to be a new father? And as I've said on the show a couple of times, I am a new father. We also have other new fathers with us, but I can't interview myself. So at this point, and I should say later in the show, Dr. Pat Keener will be here also to interview us. But right now, for the first half of the show, our friend Debbie Paul from Indianapolis Monthly, you have taken over this assignment.
Yes, I have.
I'll let you introduce our other guests.
Great.
And introduce me too, because I am finally, ultimately, the host.
Okay,
yes.
Let's do this. To my left is Marc Patrick, and he's a well-known Indianapolis media personality. And in his arms, that's Drew. Drew. And next to him is Mark Much from Q95. He is the producer of the Bob and Tom Show, as well as being the voice of the Reverend Ernest Honestly and Murray and other well-known celebs.
Bless
He's
you.
got Jonathan.
Bless you.
What is it? The Church of Blissful Sedation.
That's right.
He's got Jonathan with him in his
Boy,
arms.
am I glad I wore my black suit today.
All right, we got Dick next to us. Where's Brett Michael Wolfsie?
Okay, well, I have to tell you, this is really, I will bring the baby another time. Brett and Mama are not feeling well.
I'm sorry.
But I must say something before we start this interview, that Brett has seen his dad on TV, and all the other babies in Toys R Us and Children's Palace know that Brett is my son.
He's a celeb baby.
He's a celebrity. So I have taken a picture of him, but he doesn't want to get mobbed for autographs, so I want you to see my son. Just a little picture. There he is.
Uh-oh.
Now,
Yeah.
he will come out of disguise at some future point. Please do not write me any letters. I did not abuse
like
that
Elton
child.
John,
Okay.
Okay,
It's
now
all yours.
here you all sit, and you got your babies, and you've got your memories of your baby there
Yes.
at the other end. Is this different than you expected it to be? I mean, when you were sitting around thinking this baby was going to come, is it different? Is this the way you thought it would be?
I get a lot more sleep than I thought I would.
You do get more sleep than you thought you would?
I want to borrow that baby.
Well,
Yeah.
my elbow's real sore from hitting Pam, though.
Oh, all right. How about you, Mark? Has it changed your life?
No, because not really. It didn't end up being a lot different. We used to take care of a lot of friends' children and, kind of practicing.
Well, you
See
get
what
up
it was
early
like.
anyway, don't
That's
you?
right, yeah. This is my little alarm clock here, little Damien.
How about with your wives? You know, Dick, you've said before, it's hard enough to get attention from your wife when you didn't have a baby.
I just
so
want-
now that you've got a baby,
Don't
is
say that.
this attention thing a
I do want to
problem?
say something about changing your life. I didn't get the answer to that question. It used to make me angry when people knew we were going to have a baby, that they would say to me, it's going to change your life.
That people would say your life is never going to be the same.
Yes, right.
That was
And
the
it
word.
make me angry because I'm not stupid. I know a baby's going to change my life. For some reason, that just annoyed me. Now, the baby came, and obviously it's changed my life. But I don't think we still go out, and we have to get a sitter, and we can't be quite as spontaneous, but I don't feel like my whole life.
But isn't it the responsibility factor, though? I mean, you never had a responsibility, only responsible for yourself.
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, when you leave, there's a whole other person to think about.
Well,
Yeah.
they move in. He moves in, he doesn't have a job. No food, we have to feed him.
I know.
It's like an old great uncle. What are we going to do with Pop today? We can't let him stay here.
Is this the best you can feed that baby? Because he's kind of going
Bothering
over.
me back. All right, how about the relationship with your wives? Do you think it's changed any since the baby has come?
I think we're closer.
Do you?
Yeah, which I didn't think could happen, but it really is. The entire birth experience is just the most phenomenal thing, and everybody tells you that too. That's another thing that everybody goes over when they knew we were expecting. They'd say, well, you know, that birth's really something else. And, you know, I was like, I'm not sure I really want to watch.
But it was, you did,
But,
though.
oh, yeah, you didn't want to miss it. You know, every little thing is so unique because you know that it's the first time it's ever happening.
Take pictures?
Afterwards, we got some video. So.
And how about being jealous of your wife's time? I mean, that's an old standby. People say the baby comes, you're jealous. Not at all, honestly?
No, I really appreciate the time. I like to see them together and
Yeah, I think
enjoying each other. That's a lot of satisfaction in that.
How about you?
Well, actually, I haven't seen my wife in a couple of months. No, I am a little bit jealous. I have to admit that. My wife is a very busy person, and we spend a lot of time together, of course, but she's working, and I know your wives are still going to work, and there is just less time for us, the two of us. There is time for the three of us,
right.
But there is less time for the two of us, and I must say, I mean, I'm older than these guys. I'm 40 years old. I waited a long time.
No, he's older than us. Come on.
Great. No, you know, I am much older than you guys.
What do you do to get attention?
Yeah, and the thing
How
now
about
is that
you?
I'm not jealous is too strong a word, but I come home and I realize there is no time for my wife
Right.
and me just to be together and to talk and because there is another, and I love him. Gosh, you know I do. But I'm aware of that. I'm aware of it. And
Do you think you make time, you try harder to make time just for the two of you? Because it takes another skill, it's another level, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's something you have to try real hard to do. He's afraid.
We're going to take a sneeze break right here. We're going to be right back after this. More with Miss Foster.
The loving touch of Grandma's hands made it taste so right.
Remember the love Grandma put into her chicken and dumplings? We do. That's why we're so particular about packaging Sweet Sue's chicken and dumplings. The quality and the old-fashioned taste are still there. Today, Sweet Sue makes it a little easier for you than it was for Grandma.
Sweet Sue lets you remember how sweet it was.
Now there's a new lilt that makes silky body easier. A new lilt that makes soft waves easier. A new lilt that makes the difference easier. It's new lilt with built-in conditioners. Now perming and conditioning with no extra steps. For long-lasting, easy care hair. Go ahead. New lilt with conditioners makes the difference even easier.
Crunch and munch is love at first bite. You're gonna love it with all your might. You better keep your crunch and munch in sight. So irresistibly good, it's love at first bite.
Crunch and Munch. Popcorn and peanuts covered with a rich, buttery toffee for a crunchy taste like no other. That's why it's love at first bite.
Gonna love crunch and munch with all your might.
Crunch and Munch with buttery toffee.
So irresistibly good, it's love at first bite.
Hi, I'm Barbara Mandrell, looking for the Visa tag. Here it is on clothes made from Visa, America's Freedom fabric. Made in the USA by Milliken. Quality fabric and so easy to care for. Here's a salad oil stain on Visa and ordinary fabric. Both are dipped into regular detergent. Look, Visa of Dacron releases stains. And needs almost no ironing. So if you love that freedom, look for the Visa tag, America's Freedom fabric.
And that was a shot of the wives and the moms of these little guys out there. We're back talking to new fathers, finding out what the experience is like. How about your wives all work? So there's going to come a time real soon when you're going to drop these babies off at a sitter, or else a sitter's going to come to your house. You think you're old-fashioned guys, or is that okay with you? I mean, do you wish your wife was going to stay home and babysit, or is it all right if they're going to leave them?
I wish she were home.
You find yourself being more like your own mom and saying that?
I really do.
You think they'll...
That's what Drew's saying now.
What frightens you about...
Yeah, I had an experience the other day, and I don't know if these guys have had this yet, but we found a wonderful sitter for Brett. I mean, just wonderful. And yet, the other day I came over to pick him up, and she had put him in a little swing seat, and we had not put him in a swing seat before. which was wonderful, and I got such a, but you know, she saw something for the first time. And just the law of averages is that she might hear his first word, she might hear or see the first time he crawls, and you know, that kind of troubles me.
So you might not be jealous of your wife, but you might be jealous of the babysitter.
Well, yeah, I mean,
a little bit.
Well,
you
yeah.
might miss out on a little
Yeah,
something.
just a little bit.
What do you
Don't
think?
you guys feel that way?
Gee, how many more people are you jealous of, Dick? You got the wife and the babysitter. And,
I'm jealous, and I'm jealous of you for taking my job.
Oh, no, sorry, I'll be gone in just a few minutes.
Right, Gumball.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You've got, you know, you all grew up with your parents, and do you think you're going to be a different kind of a parent
that's a good question.
than your father? Let's say father, since you're all fathers, than your father was to you. Do you want to be different?
Already, my situation is a great deal different from my father. He was a grocer and would work from like 8 in the morning until 7 in the evening. Whereas, you know, I go and do the morning show and I'm off at 10:30, 11 o'clock. So it's like, it's kind of like a pass, you know, tag team parents. She goes off to work.
And then you
I'll stay
take
with the
over.
child.
So you're spending more active time with the baby than your father did. What about you?
Definitely.
I was going to make a terrible joke.
Well, go ahead.
His father was
It's your show, after
his
all.
father was a grocer, and he's going to be even grosser than his father.
That was a bad joke. How about it, though?
What a hostile audience. Hey, I'm a guest today. Give me a break.
Are you going to try to be different, though, than the way your father raised you?
Well, I want you to know my father is listening to this, by the way, because my folks are in town. So, you know, that's a hard question to answer because it's very difficult to remember. And that's another thing that maybe we should talk about is that when we were very young, we don't remember that. So I don't remember the interaction. I know that my mom spoke this weekend when we had a little barbecue about the fact that my father didn't diaper the baby as often as she did. He didn't get up as often, that kind of thing. But I do half the diapering and half the feeding. So I think in that sense alone,
It's going to be different.
It's going to be different.
It's a new generation.
Yeah.
Do you actively parent? Are you doing half the responsibility, really and truly, or is this really your wife's job and you help out?
I try and help. I wish I could do more, but
But you mean just because of time you're not doing
no,
more? Or because you're a man?
breastfeeding is really I didn't want to, you know,
It's been a big strain on Margie.
I didn't want to say anything, okay, but yeah, that's where I really can't help too much.
Yeah.
But you do, how about you? Do you really do half the responsibility? I can tell by the way you hold the baby that you're really...
Are you nervous or are you just... Are you nervous or...
Bouncing him a little bit there, dude. Look, he's going to do a Stevie Wonder imitation. Oh, okay.
We're going to get more letters on this show.
You do, honestly.
Just send them to me.
Mark, though, truth, really.
Yeah, I
Do
try
you
to
do
help.
half? Yeah. And have you ever been left alone with the baby totally on your own for a long period of time?
Sure.
Did you goof up?
No.
Weren't you nervous? I'm curious. I was a wreck the first time. I was an absolute wreck. The first time my wife left me with the baby alone and she went to shopping, she went shopping. I was nervous. Not because of the baby, but when my wife goes shopping alone, I am so nervous. No, I was nervous because I kept poking the baby because I wanted to make sure it was always, you know, you have this fear when you talk to doctors, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I didn't want anything to happen when she was gone. If God forbid anything happens, I want everybody to be home. When something happens. Yeah.
Do you ever make a mistake?
You don't think I'm going to admit that, Matt? I'll tell you what I did. Now, if you guys admit to it, I did make a mistake. There are new nipples now on bottles, and don't you say anything.
I haven't said a word.
I know you're using the old kind of nipples, but we're bottle feeding, and
the hole is on the top instead of the bottom.
and I put in backwards, and that baby drank that bottle in 9 seconds. It just went, it just zoomed right down.
And you were so proud.
I said, boy, this guy is terrific. And of course, it's supposed to take 40 minutes. So
that was anything else? Do anything else terrible?
I haven't made any mistakes. I am the world's first father. So everything I've done so far
Do you see any of yourself in your babies? I mean, as you look at your babies, do you see,
usually around diapers,
chip on
yeah.
I fell right into that one. Do you see, really, is he a chip off the old block?
It's tough to tell. Yeah, you know, their personality isn't, there isn't a lot of personality there yet.
Yeah, they're still trying to figure out what a light bulb is, you know, so it's hard to tell whether they're much like you.
Do you
or
ever
not.
think far enough into the future to say, wow, I got a son now, and I sure hope when he grows up, he follows in my footsteps. Would you want that? Would
I
you,
want to
Dick,
know
want
which
that
voice
baby?
this baby's going to do first.
He's already got his own stage name.
Does he really?
Yeah, this is Murray's baby, and this is little Fred Mack.
Oh, is it really?
Yes.
And who's he going to talk like? Haji, I can imagine.
Don't know. Yeah, probably
But I think that's an interesting question, because I think show business, I think all of us can speak to this, and this is probably another show, but you know, when things have been rough for me. I mean, I've had a lot of ups and downs in this business, and I think that at some point, if he's intrigued by seeing me on television, I'm not going to say, hey, this is the greatest thing in the world, you have to do this, even though I love it, but I'd have some question about it.
Would you help him along the way if this is
Well, sure. I mean, I'm sure I'd help him, but I really think that any father, when it comes to talking about a profession, has to be honest. And I would, you know, if he gets to be 8 or 9 years old and says, Daddy, I want to be in television, I'd say, hey, wait a second. There are lots of things to consider here.
What, do you have any great hopes for what your son might be?
I want him to play pro golf or basketball.
Honestly.
Yeah. I mean, those golfers, you know.
What a life.
Just walk around with hitting the ball around the course and make a lot of big bucks.
What a life.
That's what I want my boy to do, and let me caddy for him.
What a life. How about you?
I hope he would get into something sounder, more stable, like rodeo clowning.
Like he might be a natural at that.
Yeah, I think that's the field for him, you know.
Let's back up to the birth for just a second. You talked about it briefly. Being there at the birth, was it what you expected it to be, Mark?
No, because I didn't expect a cesarean.
Oh, that'll do it.
Expect what?
A cesarean.
Aha.
There's my baby Huey sitting in the on the loading ramp here.
How about
that was interesting.
How about finding out that it was a boy? I mean, was that a disappointment, a thrill? And they're telling me that we've just about out.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk about that.
Now wait, we're going to come back and we're going to find out how they feel. We'll be back in a few minutes right after this. Stay with us.
We're in Boston at world-famous Maison Robert restaurant. And we're secretly replacing Robert's freshly ground coffee with mountain-grown Folgers crystals. Will it be rich enough?
It's delicious.
It's Folgers crystals.
I'm shocked. Because, I tell you, he only drinks fresh brewed. He can talk about how great the coffee's been tonight. This tastes like fresh ground coffee.
Mountain-grown Folgers crystals. Coffee rich enough to be served in America's finest restaurants.
This tastes just like fresh brewed to me. I can't believe it.
Suddenly, everyone is tearing into Women's Day because on our pages, there are chances to win thousands of fantastic prizes in our $1 million 50th anniversary game. Plus, you can win one of 5 grand prizes, too, including a fabulous Lindell Cedar home, 2 Oldsmobile Cutlass Calays, and $15,000 in cash.
Honey, who's gonna win?
Find out how to be a winner in the October 1st issue of Women's Day.
Proud to be in Indiana, proud to call it home, proud to be an up and coming, always on the go. You're working for tomorrow, your pride shows on the way. You're proud to be a part of the spirit of today. WTHR 13, proud to call it home.
We're back on AM Indiana. We're talking to first-time fathers. We've got Dick Wolfsie, the host of the show.
I borrowed a baby.
With a baby that is not his own, but I think he's doing a very good job.
I borrowed this baby.
When we left, we were talking about how you felt when you found out it was a boy, since all 3 of you have boys. Happy? Was your wife happy? A little bit of disappointment on either part?
Oh, not on my part. I was so worked up whether it would be a boy or a girl, and I really wanted a boy, although I didn't, you know,
Did you tell your wife that?
I told, yeah, sure.
And did she kind of want a girl? That seems to be the stereotype.
No, she wanted a boy as well, because she knew how happy it would make me, and that's what...
And that's what really counts, right?
But I was so worked up on whether it was a boy or a girl, and by the time Drew was born, I was paying no attention whatsoever. I'd completely forgotten about it. And as a throwaway comment, the nurse on hand said, "Oh, and it's a boy." And I went, "Oh, and it's a boy."
How about you?
Can I just say something? We have a major problem here. This baby is afraid of my laugh.
Uh-oh.
Yes, when I laugh, it goes, "What's that?"
I hate that.
I hate that laugh. I'll try not to laugh so loud. Well, you know, I'll tell you, we knew, in our case, we knew a little bit beforehand because of some tests and stuff. We knew it was a boy. But my wife, I think, quite frankly, really
wanted a girl.
Kind of really wanted a girl. And I didn't express that desire, but when she called one day, she was talking about some of the tests. She said, oh, by the way, and she was real kind of haphazard about it. She said, oh, by the way, it's a boy, blah, 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 and she stepped to it. I said, wait a second, what did you say? She said, well, look, it looks like it's a boy. She knew it was a boy. And I was truly excited, and this baby hates me.
How about names?
Okay, here.
Give him back to
Go to Daddy.
How about names? Was it hard to pick a name?
Oh, that was the absolute worst
The
part.
worst? I mean,
oh, let's
really
talk about
fight
that.
About that,
well,
don't they?
you know, immediately the name Dick comes to mind.
It doesn't work, does it?
Gee, Wolfsie.
Yeah.
Everybody has a name. I'd love, Pam would hate it because she knew somebody that was a nerd.
Yeah, that's true.
And you just go back and forth and back and forth. And Drew was the name we came up with. Neither of us knew a Drew.
So
And
he'll be a first. No stereotypes to follow.
Yeah.
What would he have been had he been a girl?
Gosh, it was so long ago.
It could have been Drew.
Would have been Paige Elise.
That's nice. How about you?
Well, I think that's interesting. If you know somebody that had a name and that person was a real dork, there's no matter how beautiful that name is, you know, my wife would say, oh, I knew him in 4th grade and he had glasses and a big nose. So what? So we went through a lot of names. And I also think the interesting thing is that for us, we wanted to find a name that was unique but not bizarre. You don't want to name a baby Slash or something like that. But we wanted something that was a little bit different. So we ended up with Brett. But of course, the story behind that is it's Brett Michael Wolfsie.
And
don't say that. When my wife picked that name, I said, oh, that's fine. She said, you really like that? And I said, yeah. And it was all official. And I said, oh boy, I have a BMW. I always wanted a BMW. And when she heard that, she said, I'm changing it. I'm changing it. She said, no, you're not. And he's got BMW
t-shirt. And he's got a little tag on his door. That
a license plate on the carriage, everything like that.
What about people? You know, people come up to you and they say things that irritate you. Dick, you said a minute ago that you can't stand when people say, oh, this is going to change your life. I can't stand when people say, oh, he's pretty enough to be a girl. Have you heard that? Are there other things or advice that people give you that just drives you up the wall? Because everybody wants to be a mother or a father.
Yeah,
when they see you with a baby, don't they want to say, well, this is what you should be doing? Have you gotten any of that?
Well, I really think that every person who has children automatically, and understandably so, becomes an expert. I must say, if my mother was watching, and I know she is, that she's been wonderful about this. I really think she bites her tongue because, you know, things were different 40 years ago when I was born. They didn't have pacifiers, they didn't have car seats. I mean, it's a whole nother world. And things have changed a great deal. But, you know, I think you just have to, people tell you things and you say, that's very interesting and we may try that.
Do you think that they approve? You think your parents approve of the way you're raising your baby because it is different?
What do you think, guys?
I think so.
Yeah, I think the grandfolks.
Ours have been great. Just great. I mean, you know, plus I think, I know for me, I'm in a better frame of mind.
You're happier.
Beforehand, I got tired of everyone telling you what the birth was going to be like, you know, because
it gets old.
It really did. Yeah. But so far, I haven't had, it's a great question, but I don't think anything really.
What fascinates you about the baby? I mean, Dick, you have said, you know, you look into that baby's eyes and you say, it's just fascinating. What about it do you think is just an amazing experience?
You know, I really think this is, I think part of the joy of this is just looking at that baby and not really knowing, I mean, what is in this baby's mind right now. I am fascinated. We can talk to Dr. Keener about this too, because there are things about the baby. For example, the baby now has no fear of strangers, no fear of the darkness, none of that.
Or of your laugh.
Right, that's right. And I do have a fear. My greatest fear is being upstaged by a baby.
That happens all the time.
I want to know what Marc is doing to this baby and whether this is legal. What are you doing?
Drew does Elvis, man.
He does Elvis.
Give me a little Elvis.
That's it. That's very good. That's very
my
good.
Goodness.
You know, what have you learned so far? You've been daddies for, a month or two. What have you learned? Are you going to do this again? And if you do, or have you learned something so that maybe you'll be a little better the next go-around?
Scotch guard everything in your home.
Everything.
The dog, the fish, the light bulbs, everything.
Would you do anything differently now that you've learned a little bit?
Yes, I would. When I diaper him, I'd stand out of the way.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something. It's so quick. Before you know it, it's everywhere.
But aren't you proud?
And Jonathan's starting to get good at it. You know, he waits till I get to the other side of the room. And tell you something, Pop.
What are you looking forward to? I mean, you know, the stages that are about to come.
Grass cutting. When he can cut the grass, that's going to be the day that I'm really happy.
You know, do you look at other kids? You go to a shopping center or any place and say, gee, pretty soon my child will be
doing that.
Yeah.
You know,
Hanging
I'll
from the
tell you,
ceiling.
I'm curious about, I'd like to ask these guys a question, but one of the things that I think a lot about, this is my own neurosis, so you can make fun of me if you want, is that people say to me all the time, before you know it, he'll be in college, which is like saying before you know it, you'll be 20 years older.
Right.
And I always think about that because I don't want to be 20 years older just like that. And I have friends who have...
Not being 40. It's kind of hard for me to answer.
Because you'll be my age, right?
Yeah, you know, it's like...
But don't you think
But
that...
the message there, I think, is enjoy him while he's little and
Yeah.
don't wish the years away. You know, enjoy this stage right now. You know, instead of saying to yourself, oh, this is annoying and the baby's getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I think that's the message.
Yeah, I think that is. I think we need to take a break. These guys need to take a shower. It's very hot up here, and I'm used to it. But they're going to come back. Paula Jones is going to be with us in just a few moments to talk a little bit about getting back to school, and we're going to have Marc and Marc back to talk to Dr. Keener about some medical things. And Debbie Paul, thank you very much.
It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you for that.
It was a pleasure.
If you have better luck eating fish than you do trying to catch them, come to Denny's. We've got new hearty fish fry dinners starting from $4.95. So come on in. We're open all night.
1787, our founding fathers composed the United States Constitution, which provided a government of the people. That Constitution has since been challenged by Civil War, Depression, social upheaval, and more. But it has endured throughout our history and remains a strong foundation for our government. As it continues to withstand the test of time and change, we celebrate this year the 200th anniversary of the Constitution.
The 1987 Colts, bold, spirited. After wrapping up last season with 3 wins in a row, Ron Meyer's troops are gearing up for the season on a high note, despite a major stumbling block. With Hogaboom on the injury list, can Trudeau take charge? Will Cornelius Bennett be in a Colt uniform this year? Join Don Hyde and Darrell Burnett for a close-up look at the Colts' preseason performance and a look at the season ahead. Watch the Colts Season Stampede, Friday night at 10 on WTHR.
This child star became ambassador to Ghana.
What? Who's Shirley Temple?
Audio Daily Double. They sang, "Time is on my side."
Oh, the Rolling Stones. What are you guys doing? We're speaking Jeopardy. Oh, excuse me, I never took a foreign language. No, it's Jeopardy's, like on the game show. Oh, then I've got one. She's short, not a real blonde, and she hasn't had a date in 3 months.
Who is Nancy?
Jeopardy's, the language of Jeopardy.
This child star went on to be...
I'm going to take this opportunity now to do something very selfish, but as much as I love my new baby, I do. There's also another member of the family that we love also, and he is lost. She is lost. I don't even know if it's a he or a she. It's our little cat, Lindsay. Lindsay, there she is. Lindsay got, wow, it's going to make me cry. Lindsay got out of the screen 2 nights ago on our porch where she and the other cat sleeps, and Lindsay has not come back for 2 days, and we're real upset. And she, it's in the Meridian Kessler area. If you have seen Lindsay, we would really love you to give us a phone call because we really miss her. Gosh, I don't think I can continue the show now. I'm all broken up. On a lighter note, we have some folks here from the audience who have something to share with us. You don't know where my cat is, do you?
No.
Oh, dear. Come on up. Tell us your name.
I'm Anita Nicholson.
And?
Myrna Mullins.
And what's coming up that you want to tell us about?
We want to let everybody know about the Apple Fest, which is happening Wednesday, September 16th from 10:30 to 2:30.
Where is it happening?
At the West Plaza, the City Market.
Okay, tell us what happens at the Apple Fest.
We sell hot apple cobbler.
Hot apples?
Yummy cold ice cream.
Yeah.
And
of patients asking questions. Did you, in fact, have any input into choosing the doctor for your baby?
We have our family practice physician.
So the same doctor that delivered your wife also took care of the baby. So is that right?
Exactly.
Okay, so that was really easy.
It took me a second. I thought, no, she's not that old. Yes, Dr. Tanner.
Okay, so that was...
His wife, actually, Dr. Terrell, delivered the baby.
And what about you?
Yeah, I got the old dartboard out, and put the page up from the yellow pages, and hey, that's the guy. No, we got a number of recommendations.
Did you interview?
And yeah, we talked to the first fellow
Good.
that was on the list, and we were so satisfied with him.
Well, you know, I.
Well, I didn't have a choice, really. No, that's kind of fun. I was kidding the other day when we went out for the first time and we had a babysitter, and somebody said, "Were you nervous about the first babysitter?" I said, "Well, let's see. Considering that the babysitter lives across the street, considering that her mother is a pediatrician, considering we're going out with her mother, considering she has a phone in her car and a beeper, I'm not the least bit nervous. No problem at all."
All bases are covered.
Yeah,
that's
right.
But you know, the thing that we hope patients will do, and certainly new parents, is talk to the doctors ahead of time. Now, you already knew the doctor, and so you had some relationship, but it's real important that you feel comfortable, that you can ask questions just like you're going to do now.
And you'd recommend selecting before the birth, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and most doctors don't charge for that. The prenatal interview with the pediatrician is free, and that gives you a chance to ask questions and talk about whether or not the mom's going to breast or bottle feed and those kinds of things, so you have that done up front, and that's nice to do.
Okay, let's go. Let's ask questions.
Okay.
I got so many. Marc, Patrick, why don't you start?
Well, I wondered about, Drew had a little heart murmur, they thought, when he was born, which they later said was probably a hole in his heart, which caused them to hear a funny heartbeat. And what are the chances that that will close up?
Well, you know, if you just take all babies right after they're born, almost all babies have a murmur. And so Drew's had to be a little different. If you then look at babies in the next 6 to 12 hours, about half of them will have a murmur. And you expect that because when they're still inside the mom, they have a hole between their heart that really functions so that they can get oxygenated blood out to their body. So they need to have that hole between their heart before they're born. After they're born, many babies will have yours was probably a VSD, ventricular septal defect, that will close on its own and doesn't cause any problems. So by far the greatest chance is that the baby will have that close alone and won't ever have to have any surgery or anything, maybe another evaluation when the baby's a little older. Is that what they suggested, that you come back at about, what, 2 or so?
It's every 6 months.
Okay, and they're just going to do, and they don't even have to catheterize the baby, do they? They just do it through the chest wall. I mean, it's real simple.
That's just getting too complicated for Marc.
You mentioned some home Kmart kit.
Self-care, okay. But that should
I've got a question about feeding. He's, as you can see, he's kind of a big baby. He likes to eat quite a bit. And I was just wondering about when is the best time to start him on different kinds of things like juices, apple juices and things, because we really
Boy, am I glad you asked that.
I'm glad I asked.
Because there's a real push. Many times you're pushed to start solid foods, or people will say when your baby's 2 months old and the baby doesn't sleep through the night, they'll say, well, if you'll just, give that baby some cereal, that baby will sleep through the night. And there's just no reason, nutrition-wise, sleeping through the night, there's no reason to have a baby eat solid food before they're 6 months old. So that you don't start solid food, you don't introduce them until they're 6 months old.
How about juices?
Juices, you usually don't introduce those until they're 6 months old either, and you usually don't introduce orange juice until even later because so many babies are allergic to orange juice.
Tuned in, we're talking to new fathers with Dr. Pat Keener, and in case you did just tune in, my son Brett could not make it today, was not feeling well, as is Mom, also not feeling well, so we'll do that another day. I have a question for Dr. Keener. My wife and I are very different in a lot of ways anyway, as you know from being friends of ours, but I think our parenting styles are different. I think we play with the baby differently. Obviously, I'm probably a little rougher than she is, talk to it differently. Is that okay if there's a diverse way of the mother and the father respond to the baby?
It's just a fact that daddies are different than moms. They have much rougher play. They tend to excite the baby. And their play is associated with more learning than mothers play with babies.
Is that so? Really as opposed to more emotion, or?
Mothers are very soothing and comforting, and they keep babies in usually a quieter state. I was interested when I watched you. I don't know about this too. But I was interested when I watched you talking to your baby, and you had the baby looking right at you, and you had the baby talking back to you, which is really good for a baby of that age.
The different voices he does are nutty.
But actually, daddy's lower voices don't interest a baby as much as mother's higher voices. Mothers usually will adopt a higher voice, it's really true, and the baby will alert and pay attention. So daddies use other things to get babies interested, and one of the things they use is the way they handle them. Yeah, physical, that's right.
Mark, why don't you go ahead? We have time for a couple more.
Which
Mark Patrick? Go around the room.
I just wanted to ask about Drew's feet. You hear varying reports of what you should do as far as putting shoes on them. Oh, you should put shoes on them right away, and then you hear,
Baby
well,
Weebox,
leave them
they have
alone. Yeah, so I wondered when we should worry about putting shoes on the boy.
Well, actually, that's another good question, because lots of people do rush babies into shoes, and what they used to use are those old high-top leather shoes, you know, and thinking that that made a baby walk faster, and it doesn't make a baby walk faster. It's really hard for a baby to walk in those. What babies do best at is using their toes to kind of grip the ground when they walk. So barefoot babies walk a little faster, and you'll notice that when you first start to help the baby walking, which is not now. And then as they begin to need something on their feet, then obviously something that's soft like sneakers. Sneakers are the best shoes for babies.
You should have knee pads before you have, before you have shoes. Really.
And skateboards, yeah.
Well,
I got a question for you, Dick. Am I going to have this parking ticket validated or not? Are you going to stiff me again? No, actually, I wanted to ask about genetics or predisposition versus environment. What plays a greater role?
You know, I don't think there's any real firm word on that, but there's not any doubt in my mind that if we look at babies in the nursery, that from minute one they come in different. And you probably noticed that. Some babies in the nursery are real fussy and irritable, and it's very difficult to quiet them down, and some babies are nice and calm and are easy to quiet. And that's probably genetic, that's probably nature of the baby. Now, and they even describe different kinds of babies. They're easy babies, difficult babies, and if you have a difficult baby, and that's a genetically difficult baby, you're going to have to be very patient.
And you see that almost from you're saying you see that almost from the beginning in the nursery.
That's right. We see babies in the nursery who can comfort themselves, who can be quieted with just seeing somebody, versus another baby that will have to actually be swaddled. Will have to, you know, put a blanket around them, keep their arms close to their body so they're comforted by the same kind of position that they had in utero. So just early on, they're very different.
You were talking, when you first saw our baby, you were talking about it being I think this is the word used, a self-satisfying baby. What does that mean? Because everyone says, your baby is so good. Our baby, Brett, only cries when he's hungry. That's the only time he ever cries.
Brett is really an easy
now we're
baby.
just lucky.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's easy to take the credit for easy babies, but the truth of the matter is, I think they come to you. I don't think that you can take the credit. But yeah, Brett is a baby who early on could find his thumb and suck his thumb and comfort himself. He didn't need someone to come and take care of him, which is really neat.
Let's go back again. I'm going to go real quick on this, and we'll go back this way. Pacifier. I've heard people say that's not good for a baby. And yet, it really does work.
It really does work.
How do you feel about it?
It really is good for a baby. It's not good for a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, but for a baby, that's one way they have to relieve anxiety. And many babies need to have time to suck when they don't have to take in food, and that's what's non-nutritive sucking is the name of it. And they really do better to have a pacifier. If they don't have the pacifier, they'll still find their thumb. They're going to suck on something. And it may be the pacifier, it may be their thumb, it may be their tongue. Some babies tongue suck. And so it's good. But somewhere around 3 to 6 months, it's time to introduce something else to the baby to help him relieve his anxiety. So that's when you start talking to the baby using a blanket, a soft toy, or something to decrease their dependence on sucking. What you see frequently as the baby gets older, the mother begins to give them the clue that this is the right thing to do to stop being sad, and she takes the pacifier and uses it like a plug. And when you see a mother doing that with a 9-month-old, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
They should be doing other things.
Okay, fellas, you got 2 more minutes for free advice. Anybody else?
Free advice.
When will this pesky acne clear up?
That's so great. That's true.
Well, and I thought maybe it was just the thing with the babies, but the hair under the arms, too.
No, but now wait a second. That's true. My baby had acne, too, and that really scared me.
Yeah. Well, baby acne kind of, you have the initial acne. Sometimes you have these little dots on their cheeks when they come home from the hospital, and that goes away. Then you can get this the breaking out of the face when they're a little older, and that frequently goes along with cradle cap. Does the baby have any flaking from the scalp or any? Is it on the baby's shoulders?
No.
Well, I don't know.
If these 2 guys don't have flaky babies, nobody will.
Stop feeding them those potato chips. That'll clear his skin up.
Yeah.
And if it's associated with flaky scalp, then you can use a special shampoo, and that'll take care of both, surprisingly, both the acne and the scalp.
We have to wrap up, and I want to tell you the most frightening thing for me believe it or not, of all the things Mark was talking about, a potentially serious problem. Well, I heard that baby hiccup for the first time. Do you have that? It is a frightening thing because you know how scary it is for an adult to have it and not be able to stop. And there's nothing you can do with thinking. Not only do you do babies, but your children do sitting and your husband examines eyes. It's a wonderful family to know. I want to tell you that, right? That's right. That was great fun. They were good babies, weren't they?
They were wonderful. I can't believe they were good for an hour.
I know. They were better behaved than our audience. It's just kidding. We have an interesting show tomorrow. We're going to talk about a new diet system and meet some people that were on this system and some people who are going to go on it. And that's part of the surprise tomorrow on AM Indiana. Thanks to everybody. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Dick Wolfsie's Wardrobe is furnished by Arnold's Men's Stores, located in the Old Town Shops and at Washington Square Mall. Guests are provided transportation by the Indy Connection chauffeured limousine service. Overnight guests are provided hotel accommodations, compliments of the Holiday Inn Union Station. Make your reservations now at the country's most unique Holiday Inn.